systems. You're welcome.
Thank you, Babylon.
All right, with you, we're going to be discussing issues about studying abroad. And you may be watching us today and you are preparing for the next academic year. You're preparing your child or your children for the next academic year, and you're thinking about studying abroad. You're thinking about sending your children to study abroad. We're bringing to you insights about this in this edition of Talking Point. First of all, Mbameg, what are the destinations? Tell us about the destinations, education abroad for Cameroonians and Africans at large.
Yes, we have the United States of America, Canada, United Kingdom, Ireland, France, Germany, India, Malaysia, Australia, and Antigua for those who want to study medicines.
Now, the opportunities, they are certainly varied and really edge-creating opportunities as far as these destinations are concerned, as far as the universities, the institutions of study in these countries which you just cited concerned.
Yes, the destinations that we cover, there are actually 12 countries, and we represent over 150 institutions around the globe in these countries. So the destinations generally for the students will depend on exactly what the student wants to pursue in their academic career.
All right, tell us the match the destinations and the careers or the fields of study, science, mathematics, literature, general subjects and things like that.
Yes, the world is like is designed in a way that certain areas are famous for certain careers. So if a student was looking at pursuing science and engineering, we generally encourage them to go to India or to Malaysia. But if a student was interested to do something like engineering in the PhD area, then we usually advise them to go to the United States, Canada, or United Kingdom. If a student was looking at doing something like history, literature, and so on, we generally encourage them, first of all, to start from Cameroon and only pursue that kind of study at the level of master's or PhD. And most often we'll advise them to go to the United Kingdom.
So, if somebody wants to study abroad, is thinking about these various destinations, how should he or she go about, obtaining accreditation, or better still, obtaining registration, acceptance by these universities? What are the steps that the student is supposed to follow?
Yes, first of all, if a student was looking at studying out of the country, the first thing you need to do is make sure you have all your academic documents that you have achieved so far. Because most often you find students who have studied, graduated like 2-3 years, they don't even have their certificates with them. So the first thing is that they should make sure they have all their academic documents, their transcripts, and their certificates. Once they have all those certificates put in place, they should also be sure to have a passport. Then once they have all of that and they approach us, then we'll be able to do what we call education counseling. During the counseling session, we'll try to find out what are their personal interests, what are their financial backgrounds. Then we'll be able to advise what options is best for them. From that level, we are able to agree on exactly how they will want to continue. Then they will drop all those documents in our office. We will scan them and send them to the specific university that we'll have that discussion about. That is the process. It's a very simple process. Once the documents are treated in our office, we transfer them to our partner institutions, then there are specific time durations for certain universities, and we inform them to let them know, okay, this process is going to take this time. Then they will just have to wait, and once that period elapses, they will have what they call the conditional offer letters.
What are the best options in terms of fields of study?
Come again, please.
What are the best options in terms of fields of study?
No, you can't say the best options in terms of field of study. It depends on the individual. What is good for A might not be good for B. So whatever options they have decided to pursue, then we'll go with that. But we generally advise students to look into areas of studies where, you know, the dynamics of the world is changing, and there are certain areas that are no longer the job market is not easily absorbing them. So we are advising students to get into areas of study that they'll be able to get a job as soon as they come out of school. So we advise them to get into mostly what they call the STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and mathematics area. Those are the areas that we generally encourage students to go into now.
And what are the requirements? What are the requirements? What if a student wants to study abroad today and is looking at those fields which you just mentioned? What should the student have to be able to, or to hope to have access to some of those universities?
Yes, if a student is looking at doing courses in science and engineering, then they must be currently studying, or must have studied mathematics, physics, biology, and chemistry. Those are the basic subjects. But if a student did not have a previous background in these subjects, sometime in some universities we could admit them, and they could go into what we call the foundation program. Usually the foundation programs take into consideration what they had studied previously, and some foundation programs might take 6 months, others might take 1 year, depending on the subjects that they had not pursued previously, but it usually takes maximum a year. So once they pursue the foundation program, then they might be able to get into areas where they had not previously studied before. But there are some areas that no matter whatever you want to do, you must have pursued those subjects. Like if you want to do medicine, we are not able to admit you into a medicine school if you have not done biology, chemistry, physics, and mathematics. Most of the universities will insist on that, and some also will also look at the grades. The grades also is sometimes a determining factor. No. But if a student was looking at something like in IT, okay, if a student did something like history, biology, literature, or whatever area, or history, and wanted to do IT, it is possible they can get into the IT field, and starting with the foundation program.
Now, is there a specific level of academic performance that generally guarantees access or admission into those foreign universities?
Yes, of course. You know, they always say those who work hard in school are usually rewarded. So most students, when they're in high school, they advise them to study hard. They think that it is for somebody's interest, it is for their own interest. Those who usually have the A grades, no matter what university you apply for, once you have the A grades, your admission is sure. It's 100% sure.
All right. Now, looking at the fact that the students are moving practically into a new area where they will certainly discover a lot of things, and definitely challenges that will crop up on the way. How should they go about, braving the challenges? What are some of the challenges in the first place, and then how to brave those challenges in order to succeed? Because gaining admission and then moving abroad to study is one thing, and succeeding is another thing.
Yes, that is one of the advantages when you come through us, because when you come through us, most of those challenges you generally don't face them, because one, we accompany the students in the whole process, from the admission process. We guide them through the visa procedures. When they get their visas, we guide them on how to get their ticket. Upon arrival on campus, we link up directly with the international students department, where someone is picking them up from the airport. There is someone to guide them on how to go about the procedures in the university. So generally, most of the students don't face a lot of challenges like before, because the schools have put in place persons to assist them. So they don't generally face challenges, especially our students going to Asia, because all our schools in Asia, they provide accommodation facilities on campus. So the students basically just live from their rooms, from their hostels to the classrooms, and everything is on campus. So they generally don't face any challenge. More to that, those campuses, they meet students from other countries. We have universities that have nationals from 120 different countries. So it is also like a wonderful opportunity for them to interact with people from other countries, and they get to learn new cultures as well.
Recently, in an interview with the state media, you talked about why you decided, or what inspired you to put up this platform, Globus Education Systems, to facilitate access to foreign universities. And you highlighted the presence of charlatans, the presence of unscrupulous individuals who are operating in that area of studying abroad and extorting huge sums of money to individuals. Tell us about that.
Yes, this is actually true. Taking into consideration my own experience. As I said during that interview, when I graduated from high school, my goal was also to study abroad. So I met several people that I tried to walk through them to help me in the process of pursuing my studies abroad. It never worked out. I lost a lot of money in the process, and I ended up staying in the country, and I only went back to study abroad after about 12, 13 years after I had graduated from high school, because at that time I got involved in other things. I only went out to pursue my studies at that time because I was able to manage things by myself. So I realized that education is not an area where people should be using to make money from people. So this are the things that pushed me into all of this, and we are trying to correct that, because people always have this notion that to travel abroad, you need to meet someone to tell you, okay, you need to give me 2 million, you need to give me 3 million. That is not the procedure. We are trying to tell people, if you are interested in studying abroad, it is a process. That process must be followed, and it has a time that it will mature. So they should not just believe walking somewhere, meeting someone, the person says, this is the amount you give me, and in 2 months you travel. No. Education is not like that. Nobody gives visa. Visas are issued by the embassies, and the consular service and the consular officers are the ones that make decisions on if they should grant you visa or not. So I'm trying to educate the public to understand that visas are only issued by embassies and in the consular sections.
Now, about the costs of studying abroad, that's an area where there are often stumbling blocks, obstacles to many who want to study abroad. Tell us about the costs in different countries where moderate families or low-income earners can find a way how they can obtain a scholarship, a full scholarship, how they can obtain a partial scholarship, and so on.
Yes, I usually tell people that education is not cheap. People always think that to study abroad is something cheap. It is not cheap at all. You know, people always believe that because they go to the university, they are paying 50,000, and so if they wanted to study abroad, maybe they are looking at spending 500, 1 million. No, I always tell them the 50,000 they are paying in the university is because the state is subsidizing their education. If you wanted to know exactly how much the state is spending on a single student in Cameroon, it's a lot of money. So if you want to study abroad, you should also think of spending a lot of money to study abroad. That decision of studying abroad is based on your financial background or your family background. So we do not decide where people should go. When you come to us, we only give you the figures that are available. You make your decision. But the advice we usually give to average families is, if you are looking at getting a good quality education, then you should be looking at going to Asia, like India, where we understand that their system is well regulated and the cost of study is cheaper than any other destinations that we are representing. If a student was looking at partial scholarship, we usually have partial scholarships in India all around the year. We usually have it. If they wanted to have fully funded scholarships in countries like the US, Canada, United Kingdom, Ireland, or France, then fully funded scholarships are made available to us at certain periods of the year. And sometimes we even have the fully funded scholarships, but at the end of the day, the students might not get it because the numbers are limited. Sometimes also the universities themselves that advertise the fully funded scholarships, sometimes they end up not awarding it because the university itself is not the one funding the scholarship. They rely on partners. Sometimes because of the COVID-19, some partners are not able to meet up with their obligations. So we usually tell parents, don't put too much emphasis on the fact that you want to depend on fully funded scholarship. If you can raise something small, then look at getting a partial scholarship to India, to Malaysia, or to Antigua.
And most of the
we're also looking at having a fully funded scholarship. As I always advise, please, they should make sure they score very high grades. You meet somebody, sometimes I feel so embarrassed. People walk into my office and they say they are looking for fully funded scholarship. You want to look at their GCE level and A level. Maybe they're having 2E grades, or they graduated from the university with a second class upper division 2.2 GPA. It's so embarrassing that they have it in mind that somewhere would decide to sponsor them with that kind of grades. You have to be a highly performing student before you ever think of getting the fully funded scholarship.
All right, quickly before we go, apart from having high marks, high grades, what are the other requirements that can facilitate the process of obtaining either a partial or a fully funded scholarship?
Basically, it's just about making sure you have all your certificates from your schools. Those are the major requirements. Once you have that, you have your passport, then you are able to get the partial scholarship. Like the students who are writing the GCE this year, we are bringing up a package whereby after the GCE and the PAC, all the students that are coming out who are interested in studying, we are providing 50% scholarships for those who want to study in India. In all areas of studies, we are providing that scholarship end of this academic year for those who will be successful in the GCE and in the baccalaureate.
Right, Macellous Mbameg, expert in issues concerning studying abroad, managing director of Globus Education Systems. Thank you for joining us today. Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. That's it for today's edition of the 6 p.m. newscast on Equinox Television. Goodbye.
Equinox Télévision, au-delà de l'image, nous rendons compte.
If you suspect you may have a coronavirus infection, please call your healthcare provider in advance and let them know you are coming. This can help them be prepared. WHO recommends preventing